Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Imperial Dane, with another Propagandacast for you, my wonderful viewers. And today we have a 2 versus 2, yes indeed, a 2 versus 2 on Duclair. Duclair being a small French town near some river. I don't exactly know the name of the river, but I do know that the place of Duclair is somehow behind the area of the Falaise Gap, meaning this will certainly be during the German retreat after Operation Lüttich was so tragically thrust into the jaws of Operation Cobra. So let's have a look at the opponents today in the eastern half of the map. As the Americans, probably 3rd Armoured Division elements, we have Sungea, I'm not entirely sure, Able Company, and we have FrBandofBrothers FR, probably referring to the French version, I'm not entirely sure, but there we go. 3rd Armoured Division apparently holding the town of Duclair, meaning this will certainly be some delayed force of Germans trying to break through here, apparently. And who will they be? DauleSSDK and 3p1phany, possibly Epiphany. It could mean to be spelling, but I doubt there was an actually epiphany involved, or the person involved would have had an epiphany saying, wait, this is not a good way to spell it. Anyhow, Schwimmwagen, always nice and dandy, and certainly going to be rather fitting for the crossing of the river afterwards. And we have, of course, pioneers here. There's no way of changing those, although that would be interesting. Although in Company of Heroes Online they could have rifles, which did lead to some problems with pioneer spam. Anyhow, also, and they, I suppose, shall be composing Kampfgruppe Daule, trying to break through at Duclair and get back towards Germany, as so many other remnants of the German forces. And one thing to note about Duclair, since the patch, this part of the map has received some changes. There used to be a big piece of bocage here, but that has been changed to a nice wooden fence and apparently some blocks of wood, as some British players had a tendency of plopping down right here, setting our mortar pit, and then being a bit difficult to get to. Otherwise, parts of this map we have these northern hill areas, not the usually most fought over areas, since they are a bit more difficult, blocked off, and so can be a bit more troublesome, whereas this area, this large open plain with fields and whatnot, usually tends to be the spot where most of the fighting will going on, with these buildings, usually in particular this being rather usually garrisoned with heavy machine guns. So let's get this started. Kampfgruppe Daule desperately trying to break through at Duclair, as elements of the 3rd Armoured Division are trying to cut them off and destroy them, thus preventing their return to the fatherland. Schwimmwagen moving out. And this certainly does remind me of a small story I read about Germans retreating through American-held lines, generally away from Falaise. In one particular case, they had to use a Schwimmwagen where the holes in it had to be plugged up with pieces of stale bread, which certainly also shows that conditions of vehicles at that time weren't exactly the best, nor were the means to actually repair them the best. Numerous pioneers moving out. We see the MG42, so question is, will this be the sort of one goes support and the other goes infantry, and then one buggers up because he's apparently running the game by himself while the other one can't really move around too much, as that is a tendency for happening. We do see a barracks there and a barracks there. The usual heavy infantry start from the Americans, certainly not a bad idea, will certainly give them the most mobility. First MG42 on the way. Panzer Grenadiers going for this munitions point. Engineers getting a bit back, since Panzer Grenadiers are not the usual types to actually mess with, since they are still quite veteran troops. Some of the best in the game, and certainly quite effective so early on, and with veterancy they can become even more lethal. 2nd Panzer Grenadier team being equipped with the Gewehr 43. And we see the 1st riflemen. Will they be hooking up? Yes, indeed. 2nd team of riflemen from Mr. Band of Brothers. Shall be quite interesting. And there we go. Panzer Grenadiers. Looks like we'll have the first engagement. There we go. Riflemen and engineers charging ahead. Panzer Grenadiers quick to take cover behind bales of hay, or stacks of hay more precisely. Riflemen being quite exposed, one going down already. Engineers a little close now, and these Panzer Grenadiers may have to retreat. MG42 joining in, they're opening fire, and this causes a huge rout for the Americans in the center. Riflemen moving in from the north, while engineers are sneaking about in the south, possibly hoping to harass any fuel points. And Schwimwagen beginning to seize the southern victory points, while Panzer Grenadiers are also moving in force towards the south, apparently ignoring the possibility of riflemen here, and the rest of the engineers from Mr. FrBandofBrothers are securing the northern areas, whereas the Axis forces are completely focusing on the southern and central areas. Sniper now on the way, and second team of riflemen coming under Panzer Grenadier fire. With the Panzer Grenadiers making into the building, that would certainly be to their advantage. And yes, there we go, numerous Panzer Grenadiers in this building. The only thing that could make this a bad move is if the riflemen had researched grenades and plot one in which case the Panzer Grenadiers might regret it. And a large force of riflemen moving in from the north. This could easily turn ugly for the Panzer Grenadiers, though. This many riflemen cannot be good, but MG42 to the rescue, suppressing the southern team, and looks like these Panzer Grenadiers are getting out, but running right into the arms of the riflemen, who are certainly happy to see the Panzer Grenadiers vacating the premises. But the Panzer Grenadiers with Gewehr 43s are quick to enter. Now MG42 setting up, and there we go, firing right away at where, no, just barely hitting through the cover, meaning the riflemen will enjoy the heavy cover a bit more, but now Pioneers will make them regret that, and Panzer Grenadiers and snipers on the spot as well. Engineers and further riflemen moving in. We have quite a heavy fight already right in the beginning. Not even 5 minutes have passed, and we have a huge, large engagement, or a relatively large engagement considering the size, speed of this game already engaged. And there we go, further riflemen taking cover behind Rex Schwimmwagen. Sniper on MG42 fire. Pioneers moving in, and looks like veterancy 1 for these riflemen, having scorched the Panzer Grenadier team, quite horrific. And riflemen sneaking about in the north, staying close to cover, excellent job. Probably hoping to flank the MG42, but those gunners are too wily for the riflemen, opening fire, forcing the riflemen back once more, while the sniper sneaks in with his Gewehr 43, which is scoped. And Panzer Grenadiers moving in once more, but they are certainly a bit outgunned, and incendiary grenades going off, scorching the Americans while sniper fire. Oh dear, looks like one of the Panzer Grenadiers caught fire from that incendiary grenade. Quite near unfortunate situation. Further MG42s hitting the field, and another sniper, quite heavy support, and already going for the Creek barracks, whereas he's going for the Kampfgruppe Daule. We see a supply yard and nothing else from the Americans. So one will certainly be going for the vehicles. The Americans still, though, are, despite having not much luck here, holding most of the map, in fact, and are quite heavily digging in the north, hoping to at least delay any German presence there, albeit it won't actually hold them off. And tank traps are, again, tank traps. They aren't infantry traps, and so won't actually delay any infantry, and barbed wire can be cut. So it's not going to be a huge delay up here either. And it can easily become a bit of a trap for the Americans as they become complacent, and then of course all it takes is one fellow to sneak through up there, and then he's having a picnic on the American territories. Dual German sniper team on foot, and further riflemen moving towards the center again, hoping to counter-attack and put the pressure up on the Germans, keeping most of the map in American hands. Certainly not a bad strategy or tactic, and then we go, a motor pool. So they're certainly hoping to get something very quickly to put on pressure on the Germans, and of course with this much manpower going into support, and for the Panzer Elite, or at least the Panzer Grenadiers, this much manpower into Panzer Grenadiers constantly being killed, and in one case team wiped out, that's certainly also going to be quite expensive. Jeep moving in, having aware of the snipers. They're now sneaking in, hoping to catch the sniper. There we go, avoiding the arc of the MG42, but Panzer Grenadiers are quick to move in and forcing the Jeep onto a slight unfortunate arc. But there we go, once more the sniper is within range of the Jeep. That could certainly end up badly, but the MG42 is quick to set up. Riflemen moving in with BARs, and one sniper is down. Oh dear, he is a blazing inferno and crashes into a bush. So there we go, Panzer running around in the background with assault rifles, thus meaning we have a Panzer Jäger company, which certainly means he's not the most imaginative of Panzer Grenadier commanders, having apparently just opted for the usual rush for assault rifles and armored cars. And there we go, Mr. Armored Car, Sonderkraftfahrzeug 223. I do believe. And sniper fire continuing to haunt the Americans, but they are not deterred, running around with the BARs, but the first armored car will certainly unleash hell upon them. Riflemen forced back as two are dropped instantly, including what looks like to be the squad leader. And we have the first pack out from Mr. Daule, while the Americans are still holding on to most of the map, but they really need to do something else. And we see a lot more barbed wire tank traps and mines. Quite extensive fortification work up here in the north. And certainly could have been interesting if some of those engineers, for example, had been set to do a bit of capping here or moving in from the north with the flamethrowers. First armored car on the field, armored skirts, all nice and dandy. Opening fire on these Panzer Grenadiers, and this pack is awfully close in a nice rearward position, and opening fire on the M8, but the M8 does get out of there and continues to skirt around these MG42 gunners. Not a happy position to be in. Panzer lead armored car trying to rush it off, but it's not really going to have much luck, and the armored car might end up being the target of the M8. Fun fact about the M8, the M8 was actually originally conceived as a tank destroyer. I'm not entirely sure when that was happening, but it certainly shows the Americans had a curious grasp of things when it came to armor. But it was quickly turned into an armored car, as you can imagine, and used as it. But the Americans certainly had some curious tank destroyers. They also had a Jeep mounted with an anti-tank gun on its rear, and they also used half-tracks with anti-tank guns, which was certainly one of the better ideas. Eventually, though, they came onto the Wolverine and the Hellcat. And Americans grabbing an MG42 right in front of the Germans. There we go, but looks like it could end up being knocked out, since it does happening right in front of the armored car and another nasty thing. So there we go, wasted American troops. And armored car rushing straight into the line of fire off the pack. I have no idea why he did that. And looks like another American assault was broken through. Americans slowly forced retreat now, though, taking a lot of pressure from the Germans. And Mr. Band of Brothers continue just to throw in riflemen, but nothing else, though, being sent in to at least help. But there we go, airborne dropping in. Sungea calling upon the aid of the 82nd Airborne.